name is Kevin Curley, and I looked at the potential victims of human trafficking. So what is human trafficking? Human trafficking is a modern-day slavery that has grown to be a global issue. The FBI marks it as the third largest criminal activity. The Department of Homeland Security identifies human trafficking as labor, sexual exploitation, and domestic servitude. In my study, I focused on labor and sexual exploitation as these are the two most prominent. The Department of Homeland Security also considers human trafficking on the rise, but it is hard to gauge the real size of human trafficking because a lot of it happens underground. Through our research, it identified that women and children are the most vulnerable. I wanted to take this a step further and identify the specific characteristics of these victims. So why does human trafficking exist? Human trafficking exists because it is based on greed, power, control, and it thrives in its invisible nature. There are 4 institutions that increase the likelihood of being trafficked. This is your family history, your education, your work, and the criminal justice system. In America, there have only been a few policies passed to fight human trafficking. One in particular is the Trafficking Victims and Violence Prevention Act of 2000. This made it a federal crime to traffic a human being. This was a step in the right direction, but it wasn't good enough. Another influence of human trafficking has been the internet, which has created new avenues for human trafficking to flourish. In our study, we wanted to identify the specific characteristics of these victims, and we wanted to see if there was a difference between the characteristics of those exploited in labor and sexual activities. I conducted a secondary data analysis using the Counter-Trafficking Data Collection Agency, which is the first human trafficking data hub. It collects data from non-government agencies from across the globe. This information was collected from 2002 to 2017, including 55,000 individuals. What we found was that women were more likely to be trafficked. 73% of our sample were women, compared to 26 being men. In our second graph, we looked at what continents these victims were being exploited in. We identified that North America was number 1, followed by Europe and Asia. What was interesting was the United States of America exploits the most people. In our sample, it was 30% were exploited in America, which is about 16,000 individuals. We also identified that the average age of victims were between the ages of 23 and 26. Minors were more likely to be sexually exploited than adults. And labor trafficked victims are on average 3 years older than those exploited sexually. So what do these findings mean? It means that America is a hub for human trafficking. It also proves that women and children are more vulnerable to these crimes. Based on this study, it identifies that this is not only a global issue, but a domestic one. And I believe with these findings, we can help identify these victims as well as put an end to human trafficking. Thank you.